Okay. Training record keeping was our primary business driver. Before we implemented Greenlight, we've got about 1,000 employees, and we had an entirely paper-based tracking system. So everybody was responsible for maintaining binders and binders of training records, their sign-in sheets, their certificates of completion, which worked, but was an audit risk and a huge administrative overhead nightmare. We are a GMP facility. That means our manufacturing processes require very careful documentation of training. We need to be able to prove in any audit that employees who are using equipment or doing processes are properly trained. And so to pull the binders or to put together the annual binder of your training was a huge burden for the organization. We also, in different areas of the organization, had become innovative and had built little software programs to track theirs in their areas. And so we had about 50 people across our organization maintaining all kinds of different ways of trying to capture the data. We've got over 2,000 standard operating procedures that we needed to track annual training on. So the volume was huge. So that was the primary business driver for us. Secondary to that, we wanted to be able, and that being clean record keeping, easy reporting, and an easy way to know when you're expiring and when you need to be recertified on a given process, a given operating procedure, a given technical manual. So that was a primary thing for us. Secondary was to really help our employees understand how learning fits into their development of their career and how to align the competencies we hold people accountable to and measure them in their performance assessment with ways to develop that in a learning management system. So that was sort of a secondary driver, but for a lot of the employees, really important.
Employee engagement?
Employee engagement, career development, talent development. So we've got a body of managers who we've said, you know what, we've never been able to say, here's the manager curriculum, and here's what we expect. We kind of know, we have expectations out there, but it was very difficult to know, what do I have to take? What's available to me to take beyond that? How would I get skills that I'm looking for in certain areas?
So you saw a green light, you liked it, you went through your due diligence, you decided to subscribe. How was that process of going through the implementation and getting the solution configured to your needs? Can you talk through that?
Yeah, I can talk through that a little bit. Our selection process was pretty extended because we had some very particular needs, particularly compliance with the FDA 21 CFR Part 11, which states how electronic record keeping has to be done. Greenlight didn't meet those, or hadn't been certified for that level, but no other learning management system had. So we knew whatever we went with, we were going to be doing some additional validation beyond a normal implementation. We also had the challenge of being we're a SAP HRIS shop, so we needed to be able to demonstrate that the SAP learning management solution wasn't adequate for what we needed. So that was sort of the head-to-head decision. We had a number of stakeholders, our quality group, our operations group, as well as business managers across the organization who needed to really believe that the solution was going to give them what they needed. So we spent about 3 months really exercising the product, putting it through sort of standard scripts that would get to our audit needs, get to our certification needs, and looking at it against 2 other products to make sure that we were going to be able to meet the needs. Implementation, so we had done a lot of the requirements as part of the selection process, so that made implementation go a lot faster. Once we decided on the software, we had our first, we did a 2-phase implementation, first phase being September. So we made our decision in the June timeframe. By September, we had gone live with all 1,000 employees only for elective training. So getting them into the system, getting them used to using the system, understanding how to do reporting, understanding how to navigate, but not for the compliance-based training until the start of the year. So that gave us sort of a soft launch, gave us a good opportunity to test, and it gave us a window in which some of the requirements that we had for data electronic record keeping could be implemented, and we could start a performance year clean on January 1st. So we implemented the second piece January 1st, and so January 5th, when everybody came into work, they all saw their list of required courses for the year on their learning plans. Totally new way for them to look at it. Our employees have really have been remarkably happy. The system is tremendously easy to navigate. Our managers really struggled at the beginning because this forced them to be engaged with being clear about which employees needed which training. And we tried to help them by getting them to map training to a job category so that they didn't have to get down to the individual level. But in a lot of areas, they found that they did. This is work we expect them to do. This is work that managers should be doing, but they had been able to kind of slip by without doing it quite as diligently. So it gave us an opportunity to get the training requirements really fine-tuned. So instead of giving all the people in a given department 35 SOPs to review, 100 SOPs to review, they got the 10 to 15 that really pertained to their job. So we ended up saving a tremendous amount of organizational time, a lot of man hours that were tied up in training that didn't really matter. So going live, so of course the employees like that, the managers like that now. So they invested the energy in getting the definitions clear, and now they're really happy because people are spending less time being trained. We're actually getting ready for our first audit with an European regulatory body, and the ease with which we're able to put together the training records and the training reporting has made the quality team just so delighted with the decision we've made. They were very heavily involved in the selection and the implementation, and they were very concerned that they weren't going to get what they needed. You know, they knew their paper, and they knew the paper worked. So being able to demonstrate to them that, yeah, we can tell you where the gaps are, we can tell you where we're clear, we can close the gaps before the audit happens, has really made a difference in the efficiency with which we can prepare for an audit, which was the key driver for us.
So would you recommend and endorse SilkRoad's Greenlight?
I would. It's a very technical product. You have to have a staff that is willing to kind of work with the fact that it's an emerging product. It's not a no administrator, low end, what you see is what you get kind of product. It's got a lot of power, but it takes a team that's willing to work to use it from the administrative side. From the end user side, it is, because you do the work on the back end, it is perfect for the end user. Easy to find their things, logical in the way it navigates, robust enough to support a pretty complex set of requirements that we had. So yeah, absolutely would recommend it.
And the value is there?
The value is definitely there. We simply on looking at the manpower around, for us, our business case was really around time savings. So the reduction in time spent in tracking, in testing and correcting tests that we're supposed to demonstrate that you've done the training on the SOP, and observation record keeping. So a lot of our training programs require that you read and then you demonstrate. And so to simplify that, we've been able to take close to $400,000 in manpower cost out of the process, which more than offsets what we've spent in the implementation and the annual fees.